Like. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Covington City Council meeting for Tuesday, April 25th. In compliance with state law, City Council special and regular meetings will be held in a hybrid format with in-person, telephonic, and virtual options for public viewing and participation. With that, I'll call this meeting to order. Krista, if you could please call the roll.
Councilmember Soltis.
I'm here.
Councilmember Porter.
Here.
Councilmember Hartsock.
Here.
Councilmember Harjahausen.
Present.
Councilmember Simomo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Mayor Wagner.
Present.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you, Krista. If everybody could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. With that, we'll move to approval of agenda. Regan, do we have any changes tonight?
No change.
Thank you. Look for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. Moving into public communication, we have 5 items on here, and first up is the quarterly update with the Covington Chamber of Commerce. Dana, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Wagner and Council. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to be here to give you our quarterly update. Since you have such a full agenda tonight, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. We have had a great start to the year. We have 16 new members. We have record attendance at our third Thursday happy hours and at our luncheons. Super excited about that. And of course, the big item I want to share is Covington Makers Market. Woo! So this is a fun community event we started last year. We are doing this in partnership with the City of Covington. So thank you for your support. And Real Life Church. It will be an event at Real Life Church outside on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have more than 40 vendors, food trucks, free kids activities, all kinds of fun stuff. Super excited about it. So I hope you'll come out. I hear it's supposed to be 80 degrees and sunny. So what a beautiful first day of nice weather for us to have our event. So I appreciate everybody's support. We've had lots of sponsors this year. So really excited. The community is excited to come out. We love having the opportunity to support our small businesses.
Anybody have any questions for Dana? Perfect. Thank you very much,
Thank
Dana.
Oh, I
Really,
meant to show the.
No.
really appreciate what you and the chamber does for our community. So thank you. Next up is, council can please join me in front of the dais. We have some proclamations. Every time. I'm not loud enough, so I get to use the microphone. I would like to invite Dana up here with the chamber. Like to join us right here in the center. Sure.
Is that okay?
Yes, by all means. Ambassadors, business owners, move off to the side. All of our chamber members. You bet. Thank you for being here tonight. City of Covington would like to give a proclamation. Whereas since the late 1800s, Covington has grown because of the hard work, dedication, and entrepreneurial spirit of small businesses throughout our community. These businesses are critical to the city's economic development and vitality as we continue growing toward greatness. They are also important to the region and the state as Covington is becoming a must-visit destination. And whereas the past 3 years have been particularly difficult for small businesses that have worked hard to stay open for the benefit of their employees customers, and clients. We appreciate the efforts of our small businesses and the commitment of customers who have supported those businesses during challenging times. And whereas we honor and appreciate each of our small businesses, their owners, and their staff, and we value the energy, resources, services, and economic vitality they bring to the community. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Covington, do hereby proclaim April 30th through May 6th of 2023 to be Small Business Week in the City of Covington, and encourage all residents to acknowledge and support the achievements of our small businesses and to shop, dine, spend, and recreate locally. With that, I'd like to give this proclamation to Dana, our Chamber Executive for the Covington Chamber of Commerce. And Dana, sincerely, I really appreciate what you and the Chamber are doing, the ambassadors, everybody for what they're doing for this community. It is far reaching beyond the city limits of Covington. It is well known of what Covington does in the Chamber, and I really appreciate it. I've been a member of the Chamber since we started back in 92. It's an honor to be able to present this with you. Is there anything that you would like to say tonight?
I just want to say thank you to all of our businesses, whether you are a staff person, a business owner, or even a customer. 99.9% of all US businesses are small businesses, which are defined as those that have fewer than 500 employees. So that's almost all of our businesses in Covington. I am particularly proud of how we have bounced back after the pandemic. And I am excited to be here today and to support our local businesses. And I appreciate those of you who came tonight. And thank you for the City of Covington's support. You are a great partner of ours, and we couldn't do what we do without you.
Thank you. Congratulations. We want pictures? Okay. Should I get in front? Brian and I can be in front. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Debbie, we've got a couple more. We'll have the room for. Where is Laura?
I don't know if Laura's made it here yet, so
Okay,
I'm happy to pass it along to the commission or receive
Sure.
it on their behalf.
who's here from the commission? You want to?
I would have to come up.
Okay.
On behalf.
Well, that's right, because Laura we aren't having a report tonight. Thank you, right here, right in center. All right, we actually have two proclamations for the Parks Commission. The first one is whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of topsoil by wind and water, moderating temperatures, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, building material, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and well-being. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Covington, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day in the City of Covington and urge all citizens and businesses to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect trees and woodlands and plant trees to benefit current and future generations. With that, I'd like to present this to you, Ethan, as our Parks Director, and thank you very much. Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Thank you. I'll just also say it's been over 20 years that the city's been a Tree City USA designated city. which is remarkable. And the city is also celebrating Arbor Day this Friday with Jenkins Creek Elementary School at our Jenkins Creek Park, planting some trees.
That is perfect. So if anybody wants to come out this Friday, just let us know. We can always use a hand digging holes. Thank you. And we have one more, Ethan. I knocked this over again. I'm sure I'll knock it again, Debbie. Sorry. All right. The next proclamation, whereas swimming and aquatic related activities play a vital role in good physical and mental health. And whereas safe swimming facilities like Covington's Aquatic Center provide healthy places to recreate, learn, and build self-esteem, confidence, and a sense of self-worth, which contribute to the quality of life in our community. And whereas it is vitally important to communicate water safety information and provide water safety programs to families and individuals of all ages, since water safety education prevents drownings and water-related injuries. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Covington, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 to be National Water Safety Month in the City of Covington, and encourage all citizens to join in this observance by attending programs and pledging to be safe swimmers at the Covington Aquatic Center during the month of May and beyond. I'd like to hand this proclamation to you as well, Ethan. And is there anything you'd like to say about this?
I'll keep it brief, but National Water Safety Month is important for all the reasons you just stated, and we have swimming lessons available for the community year round. I think we just celebrated with a free event April Fool's Day, and we'll have another one coming up. I think we call it Summer Splashtacular in June, which is another free event with water safety education going on. So
Thank you. Congratulations. Picture. Yep. Thank you, Ethan. Next. I don't want to do this one. Man of the day, the hour, the year, all the years, the history of Covington. Pat, if you could please join us up. Whereas the City Council of the City of Covington wishes to recognize Pat Patterson for his extraordinary career and contributions to the Parks and Recreation profession as a member of the Covington Parks and Recreation Department for 19 years, and as an employee of King County Parks for over 25 years. Whereas Pat has held an impressive variety of roles throughout his career, including lifeguard, aquatics instructor, swim and dive coach, pool operator, aquatic facilities manager, athletic programs manager, and recreation and cultural arts programs manager, as well as leading city commissions and participating in state and national parks and athletic organizations. And whereas Pat has promoted excellence in the parks and recreation profession through leading by example, and has leveraged his passion, experience, and wisdom to elevate the profession at the local, state, and national levels. And whereas Pat has coached and mentored the next generation of parks and recreation professionals, and his impact on our community spans generations, his commitment to the community is unwavering and of the highest magnitude, and his daily presence at the City of Covington will be very missed. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Covington, do hereby recognize and commend Pat Patterson for all his years of dedication to the City of Covington and the Covington community. Pat, It is an honor to know you and work with you here in the city. You have done amazing things, and you will not be forgotten, man. I'm going to miss working with you. Is there anything you would like to say? First, let me give you this proclamation. Like to say anything? Introduce any of your family that's here in the audience?
Sure, if I can make it through. This is very overwhelming. And I'm so grateful for the relationships that I've had while working for the city, the support of the council, the staff, my team. It's just, I can't express my gratitude enough. I would like to acknowledge, because we have a history of arts commissioners here, which was quite a surprise. So we have Rudy and Marita and Jessica and Patty and Ed and Ginny and Sandy. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Andrea. It's you. Yes, Jennifer. Okay.
You went to the dark side. Thank you again, and it is an honor to have worked with you. Thank you. You wanna come up also?
Yes, this is my wife, Betsy.
You want to take us through with that? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And let's take a break for a reception until 7:30. Thank you. Thank you all for being here for this. Thank you. We just had a reception to honor the great Pat Patterson. So we're going to go into our first of two public comment periods. Speakers will state their name, address, and organization. Comments are directed to the city council, not the audience or staff. Comments are not intended for conversation or debate and are limited to no more than 4 minutes per speaker. For attendees participating virtually, click the raise hand button in Zoom. For attendees participating by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. Once the city grants you permission to speak, press unmute if participating virtually or dial *6 to unmute if participating by phone. Notice to all participants pursuant to state law RCW 42.17a.555, campaigning for any ballot measure or candidate in City Hall and or during any portion of the council meeting, including the audience comment portion of the meeting, is prohibited. I have our sign-in sheet. I'll go off of that first. Let's see. So the first person that said yes is Mayor Jan Molinaro of Enumclaw and the president of SCA. Welcome, Jan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jeff. Did I turn it off? I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name's Jan Molinaro. The address is 1339 Griffin Avenue, Enumclaw, 98022. And well, I appreciate the hard goodbyes that you had for Pat. I could see the emotion that he really is going to miss working here at Covington. And from what Jeff was saying, he is quite a gentleman. And first of all, I'm, as Jeff mentioned, the mayor of Enumclaw, but I'm also here tonight mainly as your president of Sound Cities Association. And I came just to address city council and the mayor on 2 items tonight. First of all, I do want to thank the City of Covington for being a member, one member out of 38 cities at SCA. And your continued partnership is valued, and you do have a voice with SCA in this region. Secondly, I'd like to invite all of you who have never attended an SCA networking event to please consider coming to the next one that's going to be on May 31st, Wednesday. And the time and usually they're at the Renton Pavilion. And an email will be sent out from our folks at the SCA. But this is really a great way for you to learn as an elected official from our guest speakers, also to network with other elected officials, as well as our other valued partners that come and are members of the SCA, the Sound Cities. Also, I would like for you to consider getting involved with our various boards and commissions that the SCA has. This is really important regionally, besides for your city, because SCA is able to appoint usually 1 or 2 people to various different boards throughout the county. So it's something whenever there is an email normally sent out towards the end of the year that has that opportunity for you to see what's available, what elected official position is available, make application and submit it. But we really, it's members like yourselves that make SCA successful, and without your participation, it's very hard to do business. But again, thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your meeting, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event. Thank you.
Jan, thank you very much for being here tonight. Great to hear from you. That is all who is signed up to speak. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to address the council this evening? Is there anybody online wishing to address council? Please raise your hand. All right, seeing nobody raising their hand or approaching the podium, we will have a second opportunity for public comment towards the end of our meeting. Thank you. Next up is approval of the consent agenda, consisting of items C1 through C3. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda has been approved. Next up is reports of commissions. We do not have a report from Economic Development Council. Do we have a report from the Youth Council tonight? Okay. Arts Commission. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight.
You are welcome. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I wanted to let Pat know how much we appreciate him on our commission. He's been a rock for us, and he knows things. And if he doesn't know things, he knows people who knows things. And so we get a lot of things done because Pat works well with other people. And I'm sure that sometimes he thinks that he's hurting kittens. And I know that it happens, but we sure appreciated it, and we're going to miss him greatly. And I just want to say thank you. Okay, that's that. So we did have a meeting in April, and we recognized a new commissioner, so thank you. Sounds like she's going to be fantastic, as the other ones are. We had also a presentation by Selena Lyons from the city. And even though I was attending the meeting virtually, she really made her point and really did a great job explaining everything that they needed. So we're going to be helping with some suggestions for a graphic design proposal that she's come up with for us. We are also continuing to look for public art spaces around the city. Our rotating art program is very close to being submitted to Cafe. If it hasn't been already, I haven't got the latest on that, but they said it was going to happen really soon. So we're excited about submitting that and seeing what kind of art we get. And if you hadn't noticed, the final vinyl wraps have been finished around the city, and you might have seen them. Some of them are, I mean, they're all great. Some really catch your attention, but they are all with the diversity inclusion theme. And I think they look great. And so the one was by Taco Time, one's on Wax Road and 256. Another one is near Covington Elementary. I don't know that address, nor do I know the address of the one near Matson Middle School, but that's kind of the general location of where they are. And we are happy to be attending the Makers Market this weekend. Again, we're going to be doing a scavenger hunt. Last year, we were kind of blown away with the amount of people we ran out of. Yeah, we had 200 printed out and by the end we were done. So this year we are more prepared with more art supplies and more scavenger hunt papers. So and with the weather being so nice, I anticipate a good turnout. So I think that'll be great. We are also working towards Covington Days and Kids Fest, which are coming up soon, and and so we'll be participating in those too. That's it. You have any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
You guys have been busy. Thank you. Next, equity, cultural and social justice. David. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Our meeting isn't until Thursday, since we're the fourth Thursday of every month. We haven't had our meeting yet. So I will just talk about changes from what we talked about last month's meeting. We were planning on meeting with Darren from community outreach, but we've now moved that to May, in order to then this month, go back over the review of the equity metrics. I've already been reviewing the changes that we had talked about last month's meeting, and a lot of redlining has gone on. So we'll be reviewing the changes to that. We will then also be, as I challenged all commissioners to bring with them a list of ideas for actions that we'd like the council to start taking on certain things. So we'll be kind of doing that and reassessing that to our work plan and strategic plan, and doing some updates on that for our joint meeting with the council in July. And then we'll be looking at the May calendar. Thank you to those of you that reviewed our April calendar, our celebrations calendar. I hope you had a chance to take a look at the all the great books that we were offering up, and as far as for Heritage Month, and then also tried some of the recipes. We're getting some good feedback on the changes that we're making, and so for next month we will be celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And once again, we'll have readings, and since we do have some AAPI representation on the commission, we'll probably utilize him for some suggestions on some recipes as well for all of you to try. And then we'll be looking forward into the June celebration calendar as well. That's really it. I'll report about how it went at next month's meeting, since our meeting will be out there.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Have a great evening. Next is Human Services Commission. Welcome.
Good evening, councils. My name is Sarah Parker and I'm the vice chair for the Human Services Commission. We've also recently switched our meeting schedule, so our next meeting is actually tomorrow. So I will be updating from last month's meeting. We have quite a lot going on. No decisions were made just yet, but we reviewed our bylaws to be more inclusive in our language. Originally, we had a focus on youth and families, whereas we want to now be incorporating all residents of Covington, seniors, individuals, the whole gamut. So we're looking at the process to amend our bylaws to read appropriately. We've also really been looking at our communication strategies, but that's intra-commission. We've had a number of long-term commissioners, and we want to make sure we can record their knowledge in a way that new commissioners can access. So how do we institutionalize our knowledge? I think we spoke about this a little bit as well. And then between the commission and the council, how do we get more information other than just these brief updates? And then specifically between the commission, the council, and our residents. We're going to be speaking with Darren about doing a regular survey. We found that instrumental in doing our grant recommendations during the COVID period. We want to have regular updates to that and do a survey that we can rely on a regular basis, rather than just guessing what our community needs. Part of that is also doing more in-person events. We've done events at Polaris. We're actually now going to be doing one this summer at Covington Place, focus more on seniors and their needs so that we can have more access into different avenues into our community. And then we're reviewing our agencies this year. We're on an off grant cycle, so we're making sure that we're touching base with any of our ongoing agencies that we funded to see how they're doing, but also we funded some new agencies. We want to check in, see if that money is being well spent, what they're seeing in their early cycles so that we can catch any issues before money gets lost in the run of things. We will also be meeting with Chief Easterbrook and getting an update from Darren on the state of our community. We also reserved part of our grant recommendations, and Darren has some interesting recommendations for us on where some of that money could be used as he's been in the community, seeing those needs. The Salvation Army and Recovery Navigators have been raised as good new partners that we might be recommending as funding sources. And then part of the ongoing communications of within our commission, making sure that the grants on all of the spreadsheets are accessible by commissioners. We did training on this a couple years ago, but we've had a few new commissioners join, so we'll be doing a new training on all of that so that as we're doing our reviews of agencies, we have access to their prior history in order to access recommendations for council on funding. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Sarah? Sarah, thank you very much for
Alright,
being here
you're
tonight.
welcome. Have a good
Great
evening.
update. Have a great evening. Planning Commission. Don't see anybody from Planning Commission. So that concludes our reports of commission. So we'll move into new business. First is, oh, no, there is no Parks and Recreation, sorry. Next is new business item, consider appointment to the Youth Council. Does council wish to take action tonight?
Yeah, I move, appoint Silas Coffey. Sorry, I didn't look at
Fill position number 6 on the Youth Council with a term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Silas Coffey to fill position 6 on the Youth Council with a term expiring June 30th of 2025. John, would you like to speak to your motion?
Certainly, yeah, I appreciated our interview with Silas today, and what I thought was interesting and a little different than some of the others. I found Silas to be very introspective. Took a lot of time to think about his responses. And for a lot of our interviews, I think people are often responding very quickly to what we're asking. And I thought it was refreshing with Silas was you could see the gears turning in his head. He's got some experience. He's part of leadership at his school. And really, I think has got a focus, and it was interesting to hear what he said about how to communicate with the youth. I think that's the first time a student has not said social media. So he's really focusing on events and getting in front of people. So yeah, I think he'll make a good addition. So.
Thank you, Sean. Jennifer, would you like to speak to your second?
I would. I also think he had a unique response about the #1 issue facing youth in Covington. That youth don't think highly of themselves and that they are a big part of the community, though they are. And he also commented early in his response to question #1 that he's interested in serving in order to help change young people's mindset of themselves and towards each other. And I thought that was really great perspective.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there anybody else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Right, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Silas Coffey to fill position number 6 on the Youth Council with a term expiring June 30th, 2025. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Silas. Next is new business item number 2. Consider an appointment to the Planning Commission. Council wish to take action tonight. Debbie. Debbie had her hand.
Okay. I'd like to move to appoint David Scalabrini to fill position number 6 on the planning commission.
Second, okay. All right, Debbie, would you like to speak to your motion? Nope, you're good.
David's very passionate about what happens in our community. He has already been serving on another commission, but he would like to bring the lens and some of what he's learned about our community to another position with the Planning Commission. He has spent a lot of time looking at things like our housing needs assessment and looking at things with a holistic view. And he really kind of challenged us when we asked him what kind of changes he would like to see in Covington over the next 10 years. He was like, well, what do you want Covington to be? And I think it just kind of takes us back to what do we want Covington to look like and be? And he wants to help us get there. So he had a lot of great ideas. I think it's just very commendable that he wants to serve on not one, but two commissions, and we're grateful to have them.
Thank you, Debbie. Beth, would you like to speak to your second?
I would, echoing everything that Debbie said and giving his background in both program and project management and event planning. He understands what it takes to connect with people. I also thought he had a really interesting addition to asking people what they want Covington to be. And he made a comment that most people want it to be a community, not just tax base. And so trying to look at it from the business lens of what it takes, what the city resources are needed to run a city, but also from the humanitarian standpoint, how we can make that live in people's everyday lives. So I really appreciated that understanding of both sides of that.
Thank you, Beth. Is there anybody else wishing to speak for or against the motion? It's been moved and seconded to appoint David Scalabrini to fill position number 6 on the Planning Commission with a term expiring August 31st, 2025. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, David. Next is new business item number 3. Consider an appointment to the Human Services Commission. Does council wish to take action tonight?
Yes,
Okay.
I would like to
Christina?
move to appoint Brian Lord to fill position number 1 on the Human Services Commission with a term expiring March 31st, 2026.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Brian Lord to fill position number 1 on the Human Services Commission with a term expiring March 31st, 2026. Christina, would you like to speak to your motion?
Sure, I'll be brief. Not only does David have experience in previously serving alongside some really wonderful people, I can very much appreciate the ability to have more time and resources now. I really appreciated his answers and that, perspective on development, that we're really truly blessed here. And again, to bring business opportunities to Covington of various sorts. I think he'll be a great addition to the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Joe, would you like to speak to your second?
I just want to commend Brian for wanting to come back and continue to serve. He took a break and decided that it was time to come back. I think that's admirable, and having the experience that he's had before will bring a new light to the commission as they're all moving forward, but he can also show us like, well, we've tried. This is how we can make that work and give some insight. So I think it's great. And I really appreciate him coming back.
Anybody else wish to speak for or against the motion? I would just like to say, I agree, what Joe and Christina said, that I remember when you were on Human Services, you did a very good job and you were very efficient and positive to get things done and caring about the community. And I'm honored to vote for this and have you come back. So thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to appoint Brian Lord to fill position number 1 on the Human Services Commission with a term expiring March 31st, 2026. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, Brian. Thank you. Next is new business item number 4. Consider an appointment to the Equity, Cultural, and Social Justice Commission. Council wish to take action tonight.
I move to appoint Prem Sabeti to the Equity, Cultural and Social Justice Commission.
Is there a second? I will second that. So it's been moved and seconded to appoint Prem Subedi to fill position number 1 in the Equity, Cultural and Social Justice Commission with a term expiring September 30th, 2024. Beth, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I know when the Equity, Cultural and Social Justice Committee was formed, it was in the heart of 2020 when the focus was around culture, but when we talk about equity, it can also, it's also important to think about accessibility. And I know often that gets overlooked. And I really appreciated his insight on things that we could be doing differently to help with mobility, accessibility, walkability. And I think that perspective is going to be, would be refreshing and a different take for this.
Thank you, Beth. I would concur with everything that Beth said. For Prem, he definitely is thinking outside the box, thinking about accessibility, housing, and getting outreach to everyone, and making sure that all voices are heard. And I think that Prem will be a great addition to this commission. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against the motion? It's been moved and seconded to appoint Prem Subedi to fill position number 1 on the Equity, Cultural and Social Justice Commission with a term expiring September 30th, 2024. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Prem, I know you're online, so congratulations. Next is new business item number 5. Consider and authorize the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement with Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority for Fire Marshal, International Fire Code, and Fire Investigative Services. Before we continue, Sean.
Yeah, because I sit on the RFA and then.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. I'm gonna close the door. Thank you, Tina. And we'll turn this over to Selena.
Hi, good evening, council and mayor. What you have before you tonight is a new fire interlocal agreement with the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority. And the purpose of this ILA is to provide fire plan review and inspections, fire marshal services, and fire inspections. Before I continue, I do want to pause and introduce Deputy Chief Aaron Tyerman. He's here also tonight to help answer questions on the ILA. Obviously, is a partnership between Covington and the RFA. So we've had this interlocal agreement since about 2009, and the ILA has been consistently amended, and costs associated with the ILA were just increased annually by the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. And in 2022, the RFA hired a consulting firm to evaluate workflow processes across their contract cities. They're up to 5 now, and if we count King County, that makes 6. So, and the purpose of that is to ensure cities were being equitably charged for their service, equitable service provided, and then being charged for that service equitably. That effort resulted in discussions with Covington as well as their other contract that I'll speak for Covington about our fire related processes. So they did a process improvement within their organization. They brought that information to staff, and we kind of started to work through kind of just the tactical aspects of how we work with them. As a result of that outcome, if you remember back in November 2022, Chief Napier and Kelly did a presentation related to our fee resolution on how we were restructuring our fees in preparation for this ILA. So we did a lot of pre-work with them last year, and now we're kind of closing the loop on that effort. It was really a moment for all parties to just check and adjust and try to really strive towards that cost neutrality. Fire service is a need, and we want to make sure, at least with our development, the way that we collect development fees at 100% cost recovery, that we were doing that. And then we also looked at kind of what Covington was doing in that process and what Fire was doing. And Fire actually was able to offload some of the work that Covington was doing from a resource load. So we were really excited about that. So, there's some good things that came out of that. As outlined in the agenda, under the budget section, I'm sure you've noticed that number has increased substantially with this contract. I just want to point out that much like all development, or community development services contracts, those fees are 100% cost recovery from the development. And so what we do is we pay for the service that's requested, right? And then the developer pays their share of that cost. And that service ebbs and flows year to year based on development. So some years we're going to have a ton of construction in building construction, and other years we're going to have a lot of construction in land, and that kind of ebbs and flows through there. And very similar to the previous ILAs, there is a reconciliation process where we reconcile ultimately the services that were provided with the need. And so just a kind of a reminder, the fire investigating services, those are the only fees paid out of the general fund. We budget about $15,000 a year. Again, that is a service that's paid for when needed. So if fire goes out to investigate, they bill us, we pay that. The rest of those efforts come out of the community development service fund, which is funded by development permits. So tonight, Aaron and I are here if there's any questions. And ultimately, we are striving for the council to consider the ILA and authorize the signature.
Anybody have any questions for Selena?
Just one clarifying question then. Obviously, we'll have a lot of development in years to come, so we'll be able to cover that 240 or whatever the amount ends up being if it goes up or down. Hypothetically, what happens if development starts to decrease? Or, for example, we have, 500 homes being built in 1 year and that's spread out. So they're going to have to pay less because the next year there's only 200 homes, but we're going to have to still recover that 240 out of all of those development projects, right? So year over year, the cost to the developers could change. And at some point, if we don't have any more development or very minimal, like 89 homes or 100 homes, how is that going to impact? I mean, are we really going to have them pay the whole thing and divvy it up, or how does that work?
Yeah, and I'll let Aaron jump in on this, but I'll take a run at that real quick. So I did give you a cost estimation sheet from the fire department. I will give him a minute to talk about that. But to directly answer your question, the contract itself, that 240, that's that kind of what we estimate those costs are going to be based on our ability to forecast. But we only pay for what we use, right? So some years we might spend $240,000 worth of services from the fire department. In other years, we might, to your point, have less fees, but we're paying like for like. So if we use the service, we pay for the service. So we're not always going to be paying that 240 per se, but the services will fluctuate. So we've always had a dollar amount in the ILA. Let's say I think it was 50 or 86 or something, 89,000 this last year. And that is just based on that 2009 number with cost of index over the last few years. But that's not to say that we would have maybe a very large projects that came in and we would exceed that number, we would then pay for that. So it's kind of like it's not really a floor or a ceiling, it's just a base kind of contract amount.
Just a budget.
A budgeted number, right?
Can I just ask a follow-up then? So is there a way to bank any of that money year after year if we have a really big year that we don't spend it? Because when we assess that, it's before the year end often, and so we don't know what happened.
Right, so I don't think that we're gonna strive to bank anything. Our goal is to be cost neutral,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
So
that'd be
so
the
if we
goal.
start to see an influx of those fees exceeding what we're contractually have with the fire, then we might need to evaluate those fees, right? And so that's why we look at the fee resolution year over year, is that we try to strive for that cost neutrality. I'm gonna pause there and maybe see if Aaron has anything to add. Okay, thanks.
Pretty good job.
They coached me before the meeting. Did you have anything you wanted?
It's not the type of fund where we it's really a pass through in our budgeting, is it? So the money comes in, we pay it out to the RFA, and we have to calculate for the budget. Our estimate is 240,000.
In some years, it might only be 100. No.
Yeah, it could, yeah.
Any other questions? This council wishes to take action. We have before us a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement between the city of Covington and the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority for fire services in substantial form as that agreement attached here to.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Beth, would you like to speak to your motion?
We want to continue to maintain those services for our community and the approach that we need to do, probably been getting off and cheap for the last 10 years or more, so.
Thank you, Beth. Joe, would you like to speak to your second?
I just feel like if we don't pass this, the fire department is gonna stop doing stuff for us, so I really would like them to continue to do stuff for us and reiterate what Beth said. We've kind of gotten away with the steel the last decade or so. So it just caught up to us and it's time to fix it, so.
Thank you, Joe. Is there anybody else wish to speak for or against the motion? Been moved and seconded to authorize the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement between the city of Covington and the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority for fire services in substantial form as that agreement attached here to. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. I'd like to ask Sean to come back in. I am slowly sinking. Yeah. No. I think I've dropped an inch since we started. Welcome back. Next is new business item number 6. Consider a resolution adopting the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan 5th edition. Don.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. We have Andy here, which will kind of present this for you guys tonight.
Thank you. Welcome, Andy.
Hi, Council. Hi, Mayor. So the plan is the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan that will identify how city departments will respond to a disaster, working with ourselves internally, other local, state, and federal and county partners. The requirement is that it's updated every 5 years. So ours was actually due in 2020, but we had a slight pause in that because of the pandemic. So Washington State Emergency Management granted everybody an extension. So ours was December of 2022. So I completed it, sent it into them in December, and they reviewed it in February. So their review process is they have a schematic that they plug it into. I don't know if you saw the grade, but I got a 95% on it on the base plan. And then their next tier is just what's recommended. So those are things that will change when we review it every year. We'll just look at those recommendations and pick some of them and work on adding those in. So then by the time the 5-year plan comes up for renewal, it'll be hopefully easy. So our old plan used to be an emergency support function format, which there was 15 of those. And we're a small city with minimal staff. So trying to staff that with that many people and me to get local people to come in and help me train everybody, you guys included, is not beneficial for us. So working with the state, I switched our plan to a department-based plan because that will allow everybody that's responding to the emergency or working in our emergency operations center to really function in their day-to-day job with maybe some variation because it's an emergency. So there won't be a lot of training. There might be some training to work in here in the emergency operations center, but it really won't be a drastic change that we'll have to make. So during an emergency, there are some things that you guys would be called on, so I'm sure you know our emergency management code. 2.50. So things that you might be asked for from us, from me or Dawn, is ratifying proclamations or expenditures as needed for us to be able to respond to and mitigate the emergency. One thing that came out of us doing this new plan update is we reestablished our city emergency management planning committee. So it's internal right now, just somebody from each department. But once we get the ball rolling and feel comfortable with us, we'll start inviting community partners back into it. Like before, there was people from the RFA that represented, there was people from Multicare and some businesses, so we'll do that. We had our first meeting last month to kick it off and get ready to start writing another plan. You guys have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for Andy? Yes, Beth.
Would you open up that community emergency management plan route to citizens that might want to do that? Like as a commission? Something like a commission.
It's a possibility. I believe there might have been a citizen at large or something on it before. I'd have to go back and.
Anybody else? Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, before us is we have the option to adopt a resolution adopting the City of Covington Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, 5th edition, as approved by the State of Washington Emergency Management Division. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
And we have a second. Christina. And seconded to adopt this resolution. Sean, would you like to speak to your motion?
Only to say that, you know, this, as Covington grows, we are maturing and realizing that there are additional aspects of providing sound service to our community that includes anticipating emergencies and how we will maintain that service when things aren't going as we always planned it to be. So this is just another sign that we are developing becoming a mature community. So.
Thank you, Sean. Christina, would you like to speak to your second?
Just like to echo that as well. I think it's absolutely mandatory and thank you for your wonderful presentation.
Anybody else wishing to speak for or against the motion? All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt a resolution adopting the City of Covington Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, 5th edition, as approved by the State of Washington Emergency Management Division. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution passes. Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here tonight. Next is new business item number 7, authorize the city manager to execute a public works agreement with Tim's Complete Landscape Management for parks, shrub, bed maintenance. Dawn.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you is a contract regarding landscape maintenance for shrub beds in some of our parks facilities. And this came about as we evaluated work plans and efficiencies. And one of the areas that came out of that was the amount of time needed for shrub bed maintenance. There was also an area that we've gotten quite a bit of regular feedback of needing additional maintenance at. So what we wanted to do was consider what it would look like as far as having a contract to do that work and get some prices for that to see if that was feasible. So staff put out a invitation to bid for landscape maintenance for these shrub beds. 10 contractors requested information on that. And we received 5 bids. The way the structure of the contract was there was an initial cleanup of all the shrub beds, and this would be for CCP, Crystal View, and the Aquatic Center. And so there would be there was a bid item for the initial cleanup of all the beds, get those cleaned up and looking really nice. And then there would be an annual amount for them to come out on a monthly basis, at least, kind of at a performance, basically what is needed to keep those up. And that's how the bids were set up. If you look at the proposals in the blue sheet, you have the total annual amount each year. Because the plan was that it would be a 3-year process or a 3-year period, the way that the contract was bid out. There would be so there's that annual amount for just the ongoing maintenance. There's the initial cleanup, and then there was a bid alternative. We wanted to get an idea of what it would be also to have mulch applied into all the shrub beds as well, and see if it was kind of included in this as part of the shrub bed maintenance. Maybe it would be a cost savings to have that all put in together. As you can see, the numbers were quite high for that bid alternative. And as we just called out for just having bark blowers or whatever come in and do that work, it was actually even cheaper just to have that, and that wasn't labor intensive for staff to do that. So our recommendation would be to not do the bid alternative and just have the maintenance aspect of it for those shrub beds. The first year, as I said, you would have an initial cleanup included in that, along with the 1-year maintenance. So that would be a little over 33,000 for that first year, and then it would be 22,000 for the next 2 years each year. So that would be for just the, as I said, the shrub bed part of it. We do have, as I mentioned in the blue sheet, there is some budget for janitorial service that we had in the budget for 25,000 that we're not going to need because we're going to utilize. We worked with the Aquatic Center and Parks Maintenance to take care of like cleaning up of the shelters on the weekends. So we don't need that as for that cost. So we were planning on applying that cost for the maintenance. The other piece that we're wanting to still do is once they clean that up, going back to the initial cleanup of the shrub beds, is if we can, we'd like to put in mulch into all of these facilities or on all of these shrub beds. If we can do that with our existing budget and absorb that, then we're going to do that. The concern is if we're going to be able to absorb that amount, and we might not know until later on in the budget whether we can do that. So then the thought would be is like, well, we may have to wait till at least the fall or later before we'd be able to put in that mulch. Or we could, when we do the initial cleanup, if the council would like to say, yes, we definitely want to have this mulch put in sooner versus later, then we would need to just make sure that we have some sort of contingency to cover that cost if there is an overrun on our budget for that amount. And we would only utilize that is if we need to run that over. As I mentioned, we would save about 15,000 or whatever just to do bark blowing versus having this be part of the contract. One of the options, and I talked with Ethan about this before, there is some funds in the Parks Reserve, 175,000. And that could be one option that could be utilized for that if it's needed. As I said, we would do our best to try to take care of all of that. But we've been in the past utilizing some wood chips and stuff that's from landscapers that we've that have borrowed or donated or whatever. And some of the quality of that has not been great. It's been a little bit challenging on where to put that and maintaining that. So that's a little bit of, this would definitely raise the bar also as far as how that would look. And so anyway, I spoke a lot and there was a lot of pieces to this. So feel free to ask me any questions and hopefully I can address those.
Council have any questions for Don? Jennifer?
I know Reagan's gonna be like, Jennifer's gonna love this, and it's true, I do. Because I had a lot of issues with what I was seeing at CCP and the pool when I was there a lot this summer. So I love this proposed solution. I do have a question about how this impacts or affects the additional staffing that we approved in our budget.
Right. And I think that that's one of the aspects that we were trying to kind of, the fact that we're bringing on SoCo and Jenkins Creek Park too, those aspects, just trying to stay ahead of a little bit and planning into some of that, knowing that we've got some growth coming and we're already having to take care of more pieces already. So really, I feel like it's kind of helping with what's coming and also planning work plans, knowing that we can't really get to everything, even with that additional staff that we have. We already know even taking that into considerations definitely will help us, but it doesn't get us to like really take care of everything to the point that we would like to.
Okay, great, thank you.
On bark blowing, is that something that can be done by your staff or something that Tim's would do if we hire them?
We would just do it as a service. We could, because it's not considered a public work and it's a regular maintenance item, then we can call as a service. So that could be just us calling up a vendor and they would provide that. We could get obviously multiple bids, but we could just do that and it wouldn't be labor for us. They would just come in and blow that in. We would obviously coordinate that work with the Tim's Complete Landscaping to make sure that that's coordinated and what works best. But it would also be beneficial for them as well, just because of keeping weeds down, things along those lines. There's a lot of benefits to having that with moisture and all that kind of thing when you do that for those types of shrub beds.
Okay, thank you. And then is that something that we need to do every year?
It definitely is beneficial to, as far as you're talking about like a mulch and bark. Yeah, it's definitely beneficial to do that. Obviously, we would look at that and see how well they do and only do it if we need it. It might be in areas, once we get it going, because they're going to be raking and cleaning these things up too on a regular basis. And those would be the types of things that we would evaluate going forward. And we wouldn't necessarily say, we're just going to do this everywhere, regardless, but it would be something we would want to see how well that did over the year and then evaluate, hey, is this something that we need to do regularly? And maybe we need to apply that into our budget on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Don? All right, before council is to possibly authorize the city manager to execute Public Works agreement with Tim's Complete Landscape Management for parks, shrub, bed maintenance in substantial form as that presented. Council wish to take action.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the city manager. Jennifer, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I think it is extremely important that our parks shine. CCP is our flagship park. We need to take care of it. We need to let our residents know that we love it like they do. And with all of our fund plans for Jenkins Creek and Founders, and hopefully one day we'll have that phase 3 funding for CCP, all of this plays into that. And everyone will be out in full force this summer. So I think, especially once CCP is brought up to speed, that will be a very noticeable improvement for everyone that visits there. So yeah, I'm excited.
Jennifer. Joe, would you like to speak to your second?
I think it's not just making sure CCP is cleaned up, it's making sure those small pocket parks that we have in the city are cleaned up too, that are in our neighborhoods, because those are where the kids are going, and making sure that they're cleaned up and making sure that they look nice is a great thing to make sure that the kids are proud of their neighborhoods as well. So I think it's a good idea for us to have this. So I'm being fully in support of this.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against the motion? All right, it's been moved and seconded to authorize the city manager to execute a public works agreement with Tim's Complete Landscape Management for parks, shrub, bed maintenance in substantial form as that presented. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. And Don, thank you for a great report. Yes, Regan.
Thank you, Mayor. So the motion you just made was for the contract. And as you know, Don talked about the additional mulch that could be pulled in. I think if there was consensus from the council on that item, that if the maintenance budget is not able to absorb the cost for that mulch, if council gives consensus that that could be pulled out of the Parks Reserve, then we could do that. Otherwise, we won't.
Is there consensus? So, okay.
For 2023.
Yes.
And then we would reevaluate
Correct.
the budget. for
Correct.
next year.
Yes.
So just for the record, because that was a thumbs up, there was consensus.
Yes, there's consensus.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our new business. Next is future agenda items. Look at our agenda for May 9th. We do have a joint session with the Covington Economic Development Council and the Covington Chamber of Commerce Board. And then our regular agenda. And does council have anything they would like to see at a future agenda? All right, let's move into council staff comments. We'll start with Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. We have seen that we had a nice arrest at AutoZone, but we recovered a substantial amount of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. One thing I'll be looking at here in the very near future is a new device that we can use to scan any kind of drug in the packaging, so we don't have to risk our health and safety to try to test it. We were doing that today, trying to test cocaine. Not sure if it had fentanyl on it, so we're doing it outside. So I'm gonna look into that in a couple weeks. I'll back a report on if that is successful, because we would need the prosecutor's office to file on that. So that is something I've seen work, and I actually think it's a great idea. So hopefully we can. That's all we've got.
Thank you. And please pass on our thanks for the great job that your team did on that. And because that also related to another item on the eastern part of the city.
Yes, it is. Yes, and there will be more action on that somewhat soon.
Thank you. Ethan.
No comments from me tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan. Don.
The only thing I just wanted to point out to council is if you haven't driven through the SR 18-256 interchange, quite a bit of art and things like that they put up. The railing, pedestrian railing got put up. So definitely worth going to look at if you haven't. That's it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Selena.
I have just two things. The first one is the SEPTED team, which is me and Chief and Tony on our team. We are going to be talking to the Lake at Winterwood HOA tomorrow. We're going to kind of start pivoting some of our outreach to residential crime prevention through environmental design. So we're going to see how that goes with them tomorrow night. And then I just want to make a plug too, that if you are not signed up to get those newsletters, there's a newsletter that goes out every month, but it's also on our website about different SEPTED, ways that you can incorporate SEPTED into your own properties and throughout the city. So just if you're interested, making a plug for that. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, because it came up during the Arts Commission report, we have asked the Arts Commission to design our final brand tagline for the comprehensive plan. So if you remember, the Equity Commission and the Planning Commission came up with the tagline, Covington 2044 Thriving Community for All. And now we've asked the Parks Commission to come up with a look and a feel for that we can use on all the materials as we start to roll out the comprehensive plan effort. And then that'll work into the actual comprehensive plan. So it's kind of exciting. I'm kind of felt we should have thought of that sooner. But never, it was a good time and I'm excited that they were willing. So, more to come on that.
Thank you, Selena. Casey.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. Regan.
Thank you, Mayor.
As you all have heard by now, the legislative session has ended and the legislature failed to come up with a fix for the Blake decision, which means July 1st, the use and possession of a controlled substance will no longer be illegal in the state of Washington. So what that means is a lot of cities and counties are starting to consider their own ordinances, making the use and possession of a controlled substance illegal. Mark and Adam and I talked about this a month or two ago, about the possibility of needing to do that. We put a pause on it, hoping the legislature might come up with a fix. That didn't happen. There is talk about a special session, but we'll see where that goes. But I did talk to Mark earlier this week, and he's going to start preparing an ordinance that we can bring to council for that if the legislature doesn't fix it by July 1st. On some lighter news, if you've seen the corner at Fred Meyer over there, all the landscaping got put in. And it's amazing how long that can take when you're dealing with a large bureaucracy, but it's just great to have. We're really excited about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Regan. Krista,
There's no executive session tonight, and I
Thank
have no
you.
other comments. Thank you.
thanks, Krista. Joe,
Hero. So I went on a ride along with Chief on Friday night. And I have to say that in the few years it's been since I went on one, it's good to see that we're still making changes to the city, making sure that we're doing the right things. We got to go to a call at Kohl's because you couldn't chase anybody. We had someone run from us, which was he and I had a good laugh at afterwards, but I'm happy to know that the legislature has made some changes, even if it is watered down. They've made some improvement. Other than that, I had a PIC meeting in person for the first time in 3+ years. And what did we talk about? We talked about wastewater. So just so you all are aware, if you're paying wastewater rates, you're going to be going up 2.4%. So other than that, it's all I had. It's springtime. Let's go out and enjoy. We're supposed to have great weather this week, so let's go out and enjoy it.
thanks, Joe. Jennifer,
I do not have anything tonight.
thanks, Jennifer. Debbie,
I'm excited for the Makers Market coming up. I think it's just a great way to bring the community together. It just gets better and better every time. So Dana's probably not listening, but hats off to her, and thanks to the city too for partnering with her and bringing it into one of our local churches too. I think it's just a three-way way of getting the community together. I'm excited to be hosting a couple of the Polish delegates this week. So on top of an already busy week, we'll see what I look like by Saturday. We've got our Rotary event coming up on Saturday night, so that'll conclude the fun for the week. So anyway, thank you.
Sean,
The RFA had its recent meeting on April 19th, and on the agenda, we recognize presented a life-saving award for one of our community members who works for Medic One, and I think on his way home heard a call for someone in distress and responded and started CPR on that person, and was able to stabilize, realize the person didn't have a pulse, started CPR and was able to pass that person off to the fire department when they got there and was able to save that person's life. So the RFA does that on a fairly regular basis. It's interesting to see how often we have people that do step up and take the initiative to when they see someone in need, and thankfully the RFA recognized those people. So that was great. And then we had a couple of proclamations recognize the work our nurses and social workers do, and tied that into our FD Cares program, which puts social workers and nurses in aid cars that can go out and respond to non-fire emergencies. And they're also mature enough now that they have relationships with some of these people that are regularly calling 911. So they're following up with some of those people and creating community and connection with them so that they don't have a bigger emergency down the road. So So that was great. And I asked and thought there, the FD Cares unit is responding to about 2 calls a day. So, it was pretty impressive. And I don't know if anyone else can mention it, but I, enjoyed the Firehouse Pub open house. That was really fun to see, all the city staff and the community and the fire department show up. So, business moving into our community. And I think the owners were thrilled to see how, welcoming the city was. And anyway, they couldn't stop talking about the process to get permitted here. So anyway, so that's it.
Just, I can't thank enough, I know they're not here, but if anyone happens to hear this out there in the universe, all of the applicants that we have for our commissions tonight. I know it was we were in there for a while, but we had a lot of great engaging conversations with the folks. And it's just great to see people passionate about their city and stepping up in different ways. And it was some great conversation in there, so.
Christina.
I'm gonna squeak in. On last Friday, we had a skip board meeting during which we were presented a 2024 draft work plan and budget. This will come to the council probably through Krista. We're looking to get feedback. I will probably have recommendations as well. But by May 9th, which actually is our next meeting, we don't have to take it to a council meeting, obviously, but I would love to get any feedback on that, the 24 budget, if you have any. I'm also excited about this Saturday's Makers Market. I hope to see everyone there. And hello, who's not excited about this weather besides those who have allergies? I'm just saying, it's pretty bad this year, but what a wonderful meeting. Great for everyone and for the amazing applicants and just for the effectiveness and how efficient we are. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Just a few comments. Yes, Makers Market this Saturday. I will enjoy kicking it off. This will be our 4th Makers Market that we've had or will have at Real Life Church on 180th. And the commission interviews, Beth, yeah, we have great applicants and we have great people on our commission. And it's a pleasure to work with everybody and have them report to us and give us updates on everything that is going on. And then Firehouse Subs, yes. Been a while. I used to eat at them when I traveled, and I'm so glad that they opened here in Covington. And going in there on a regular basis, and my daughter is very pleased that they actually use cheddar cheese on their subs. None of the others do. With that, we will go into our second public comment period. Speakers will state their name, address, and organization. Comments are directed to the city council, not the audience or staff. Comments are not intended for conversation or debate and are limited to no more than 4 minutes per speaker. For attendees participating virtually, click the raise hand button in Zoom. For attendees participating by phone, dial *9, raise your hand. Once the city grants you permission to speak, press unmute if participating virtually, or dial *6 to unmute if participating by phone. For anybody in the audience wishing to address council this evening? Seeing nobody approach the podium, is there anybody online wishing to address council? Please raise your hand. Seeing nobody raise their hand, no further business and no executive session. This meeting is adjourned at 8:37. Thank you.